Alrighty, it looks like we're live. We are at Ignition. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Man Cave Archives. This is your boy TD Landrum, along with the brothers. We got Thomas over here in the house, and we got the other one in the house, Tyson Toe Dynamite. What's good, guys? What's good?
Yo. We got a few news stories today. I think probably the most important one is going to be the Sony mass exodus of developers from the Sony Japan Studio restructure. A lot of From Software people are leaving, and then also talking about the Super Mario Bros. Sealed copy. This copy of the original game sold for over $600,000. So we're going to be talking about those news stories right up here. First off, let's start off with the Sony mass access. I'll read some of the article. I'm not going to read all of it. It's posted to IGN.com if you want to go there and check it out. This story was written by Matt T. M. Kim. Reading says Sony Japan Studios' ongoing restructure has led to a mass exodus of developers behind key PlayStation titles like Demon's Souls on PlayStation 5, Gravity Rush, Bloodborne, The Last Guardian, and more. In February, Sony confirmed that PlayStation Japan Studio will be reorganized around Team Asobi, I believe that's how you say it, the development unit behind Astro's Playroom. So, right there, I'm going to just stop right there. You're restructuring everything around Astro's Playroom. That right there just kind of doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying Astro's Playroom is not a good game. I personally haven't played it yet. But from what I've been told, it's just a gigantic tech demo for the PlayStation 5 of what the system could possibly do. So the fact that you're reorganizing and restructuring everything around this one studio and behind this one game seems kind of wild. Seems, wow. But first party development elsewhere in the studio will likely cease or be scaled back, and other departments such as localization, external production, and IP management will shift to PlayStation Studios. Since this news, several key members of the Japan Studio have announced their departure from the company. Demon's Souls PlayStation 5 director Gavin Moore announced today he is leaving Sony after 24 years with the company. So you read that right, 24 years. He's leaving for more exciting opportunities is what he said. Since Moore's message, several other shared that their time with Japan Studio has ended. Departures include former executive producer Yasutaka Asakura, who has credits on Gravity Rush, Bloodborne, and Shadows of the Colossus. Brendan Pritchard, who served as global relations on The Last Guardian, also announced their departure, as well as Gravity Rush character designer Shunsuke Saito and senior producer Kentaro Motomura. So, again, a lot of these developers are leaving, even those guys that I mentioned from the last game, Gravity Rush, and The Last Guardian lead designer Kazunobu Sato all left Japan Studio in December to form Bokeh Game Studio. The developers are already working on their first game, a psychological horror title. So you see that, you have Gavin Moore, the director of Demon's Souls, the PlayStation 5 remake of that game, has left Sony after 24 years of being there, all because of this restructure. Now, obviously, we don't see everything from the inside out because we're not on the inside at Sony Studios, but from the outside looking in, it's kind of shocking that you would shift everything around Astro's Playroom, around that studio, around those developers. So maybe that studio has a lot that they're working on that's going to be coming out in the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe a lot of first party titles that are in development. But from an outside looking in, is like you really just caused a 24-year game developer who's pretty much been with you his whole career to leave. Not just him, a number of other lead designers and game makers.
Yeah, I guess it would be very interesting to see what the happenings were behind the scenes, because normally stuff like that doesn't happen without some form of conflict.
Exactly.
So, I mean, without too much of a context of the individual saying why they left, I mean, beyond it coinciding with the restructuring, it's hard to see what happened. So, but it would be interesting to see what they also get their hands into in the coming years. I know when Capcom's sort of list of star developers began to leave their studio, they ended up forming what's currently known as Platinum Games, and they're out there always doing something pretty good. So it would be interesting to see if developers like that, went to form something else. Even I'll say Konami, they got rid of Hideo Kojima, and he's going on to form his own production studio, and they're out there. They came out with the Death Stranding game, talking about coming out with something new. So I don't think talent dies when they leave a big studio either. But so I'm definitely interested to see what they do next.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in the video game business, I think what is happening is that there's a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline that are going to tail off on all development sides, because I think Sony, even though they have been wildly successful with the PlayStation 4, I think they're not quite sure what's going to happen with the PS5. I think they're confident, but I think they're beginning to see how the video game industry is changing, because a lot of these developers now begin to make pocket games, or I should say cell phone games now. Final Fantasies are coming to the cell phone near you. But I mean, literally think about it, like, and rightfully so. Like, back in the day, a Game Boy Color was running you about $200 or something like that in some cases. Then it gradually got to the point where it was under $100. Well, your cell phone now, there's cell phones out there that are literally going to be at the price of $1,800 to $2,000. So, these video game developers are looking at it as, hey, Clash of Clans is wildly popular.
There's been a bunch of cell phone
Birds,
games,
the Angry Birds games, just all these different.
Pokemon Go.
Oh man, especially Pokemon Go. It's a phenomenon, and so they're kind of like, well, we need to restructure, because those are easier and cheaper to develop for now. You literally can go and take an engine that came off the PlayStation 2 and even some cases the 3 and have a full-on gaming experience and get these guys to pay for older antique engines and data and programs, things you could literally create with a team of maybe 30, maybe 20, and spend maybe $500,000, and then if every gamer goes out there and buys it, and they're willing to buy the add-ons for $5 a pop, and we're talking about maybe you get $1 million solid, so that's $5 million in 1 year. Yeah. You give the game for free and allow add-ons and stuff like that, and they $1.99, so on and so forth. And you have that installed base of $5 million, and you got, like, let's say 500,000 or even 200,000, and you got them constantly buying updates. And man, you're talking about after a little while, that racks up after a while real quick. The business model is changing, and so that's what I see.
Well, and I think so it's sort of interesting, because I think years ago, way back in 2004/2006, Nintendo released the DS and the Wii. And I remember at that time they began to talk about the casual gamers, and that became sort of a almost like something that people, the core gamers as they like to call themselves, began to sort of look down on that sort of area of gaming. But most people nowadays, even so many of the people who call themselves gamers, still are more casual by definition of. I remember them saying, if you play games less than 7 hours a week, you're considered to be a casual gamer. Well, no, I play games far less than 7 hours a week, and although I still enjoy those sort of core gaming experiences of Legend of Zelda, Mario Odyssey, Super Smash Bros. Type games like that, as adults as we are nowadays, where we have jobs and careers and whatever, it can be very difficult and inconvenient to squeeze these sort of games into your lifestyle. So, what's interesting about cell phones is that we always have them, and whether we see it or not, we have like this infinite amount of time to be on social media at all times. So therefore, we also have this infinite amount of time to sort of play around on little cell phone games.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go is one of those where you could just be walking somewhere and get a little buzz in your pocket and let me see what Pokemon Go is talking about. Oh, there's this Pokemon I've been looking for. Let me try to catch him. I don't know when I might see him again.
Exactly.
And then,
I remember it was craziness of Dragonite, and then you literally had people stopping traffic
Yeah,
to get out to go try to capture a Dragonite.
And so it's sort of bringing that casual back into the spotlight.
Yeah.
Of there's so many people who, it's our very nature to be playful in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's gonna enjoy a video game at some point, but it's all about making the video games fit people's lifestyles as opposed to fitting people to the video game. So I think it's sort of like why the Switch has become so popular is because you're not tethered to a television at home.
Exactly.
You can take your game with you wherever you go. And so cell phones are even a more exaggerated part of that, where it's like literally nobody leaves home without their cell phone. As a guy, you do the sort of cell phone wallet keys check before you leave the door. And so your games are always with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think definitely where and I don't really play cell phone games because I don't find the experiences very deep in a sense, I guess.
And a lot of them are just gotcha games, and you got to deal with a lot of these stupid ads. So as you're playing, if you don't fully download the game and pay for it, you got to watch 20 ads after playing one round of a game. It's a major turn off.
Yeah. But I think just as well as you pointed out, one of the really, really big things about a lot of these games is that they're immediately interactive, and then they're also immediately in a position to challenge people to want to play games that they wouldn't otherwise play.
Until you want to run up against a cash cow who buys everything and then keeps on attacking you and wipes you out.
Yeah. And then it's like, and before you know it, you're just trying to, for lack of a better phrase, it's almost like you're trying to play this game just to basically have fun.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I think that turns me off about a lot of these, like you mentioned, the cash cow gotcha games, is that they're not very fun after a while, because a lot of them are based upon the idea that, hey, if you dedicate so much time to it, you'll be at least somewhat decent in this game or whatever. And a lot of people just, they get turned off. I know I get turned off.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even lie about it. Like, the one thing I absolutely hate about certain games is that they're just not fun anymore. They're not fun. It's not fun playing a game where, eternally you're going to be wiped out. Eternally it's just not going to be fun to play this game, period. It doesn't matter. Oh, well, we've got all these different aspects of the game. We've included, like, these somewhat decent graphics or whatever. It's like, nah, that's all right. I'm good. It's not fun anymore. It's not fun at all. And I think that's probably the thing that's going to hurt a lot of these innocent developers to one degree or another, is that they don't even understand that a lot of people aren't going to like playing their game because they're going to think, you know what, it's boring to play a game that's already set up to beat you. It's boring to keep, the only way to stay engaged in this game is if, like, I keep spending $5 a month, right? The only way, after a little while, people wane off the game and they're like, well, how can we recapture the magic? I think that's the one thing that's different about the console game that's different than the pocket game. The pocket game does not give you fulfillment. The home console does. And I think by that quality, that's why a lot of these games will stick around. Like the Legend of Zelda will be around forever. The Final Fantasies will be around forever. The Halos, the Dooms, all the staples are going to be around forever. But there's gonna be a niche for the gotcha.
There's always going to be a niche to the thing that makes console games so popular and more fulfilling, in my opinion, personally, is because I'm buying a full game most of the times. There are games that do get the release that come out half baked, like Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Destiny 1 was completely half baked. Even Destiny 2, when it first launched, was a half baked game. But those games are games as service, as they like to call them.
Yeah.
And so the full game never comes out with it. Content gets cut to be repackaged and reshipped later on down the road. And so, unfortunately, that happens a lot with games today. But you still do have tried and true developers like Naughty Dog, obviously, and Nintendo, even though they kind of take a few years in between games now to come out with a sequel. But at least you're getting a full game. Yeah. At least the $60 are well worth it. Yeah. Even a Doom 2020, I believe, even though it has DLC, the full game still came out. You still had folks excited that they got to play 10 hours of it, 12 hours of it. Yeah. And so you're getting a lot of bang for your buck in these home consoles. With some of these mobile games, as you said, you have to spend $5 here, or you have to buy it outright to even truly appreciate it. And so it's just kind of a dicey area all the way around. But hopefully, coming up soon, with games like a Genshin Impact, where you don't have to spend money at all if you don't want to, which is what I do. I don't spend any money on it, and I have a bunch of 5 stars inside of the game. It's just good to see at least somewhat a developer is willing to allow you to have a true free-to-play experience and still reward you on that tip.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to when we were talking about a few episodes ago for the the EA types who talked about people no longer playing games by themselves. I think there will always be people who want to play by themselves because there will always be people who are a little too busy to play games very often. So when you talk about games not being fun, I'll never be a Call of Duty guy because I cannot dedicate that much time to a game to get that good at it. The way guys jump up and snipe you and get that, you could beat 50 of me. It could be 50 of me against one of you, and you could dust me because it's you figured out all the little angles and this and that, and I'm just here to play for fun. Exactly. And I won't be back again for the next month until I'm back here to play for fun. And so games like that, games like World of Warcraft, the new expansion comes out and somebody in 3 days got to level 100 because they sat up playing for 50 hours in 3 days. Exactly. It's just well, I'm not going to be that guy, so you're going to beat me to the punch every single time. And, I'm going to be back here at level 10, I just got the next sword, and you're going to be, I had that sword 50 hours ago, so I think that's one of those reasons why, the multiplayer games, they have their place in gaming, and the single player games will always have their place in gaming because here you have where I can play at my own pace, and there's nobody here to look better than me in a sense or to dust me when I'm coming through. Yeah. Versus same thing with the multiplayer experiences. It's you have those if that's what you want. You have the competitive nature of getting online and playing Super Smash Bros. And truly testing yourself against somebody who just plays Smash Bros. All day long, So.
Exactly. Yeah, so a little bit of side news before we get into our next main topic. Outriders did release, I believe it was Wednesday, it was Tuesday when Outriders came out. It's come out to some pretty good scores, and some scores are still in review. IGN score isn't fully out yet. I know some people have given the game as high as 8.5s. No real 9s out there yet. It is an online shooter but it does have its own standalone aspect. It's not a live service game, so it's not another Destiny. It's not a Destiny killer or anything like that. But that game has come out. Another little bit of news is the old expanded universe of Star Wars. Some of the comics are going to be getting re-released for the series 50th year anniversary. So they're going to be re-releasing heir to the Empire, Darth Bane. He's the guy who made the rule of there will only be two at a time. There was even one about a Twitter user jokingly talking about how they want the X-Wing series to be released as well. And Del Rey, the guys behind this, simply said, "Stay tuned." Talked about the books will be published as trade about an inch and a half taller than their mass market paperback versions. Heir to the Empire, published in 1991, is the first book of Thrawn trilogy, which follows the blue-skinned Chiss officer who became a key rival of the Rebel Alliance thanks to his masterful military strategizing. He's also come back into the actual canon because of Ahsoka Tano asking about him in The Mandalorian season 2. So yeah, you have that going on. They're also doing Shatterpoint, the Mace Windu standalone comic book, to talk about him and his art of Vapad and what he uses as a fighter. Another little bit of news is Yosuke's first trailer. It's a Japanese anime about a black samurai on Netflix. So that one came out as well. And so right now we can go ahead and get on to our next main story, which is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is the selling of the original Mario copy. It was just the fourth print of this game, sold for $660,000. So the article by Joseph, I believe his name is Noop, on IGN.com, says an incredibly rare plastic sealed copy of Super Mario Bros. For the NES has sold at auction for a world record-breaking $660,000. That hefty price tag makes it the most expensive price ever paid for a video game collectible. The copy of Super Mario Bros. Sold this week by Heritage Auctions is a copy from the game's fourth printing run. This means that it did not have the game pack NES GP code and is missing the trademark symbol normally seen to the right of Nintendo Entertainment System, which was officially added to all black boxes in early 1987. For Nintendo, it was just stuff they had to do internally, but collectors are using this information now. Chris Kohler, editorial director at Digital Eclipse, tells IGN, "It's not like a collector cares if there's a trademark on their box or not, but it's the ability to use that information to figure out what the earliest printings are." The copy of Super Mario Bros. Ranks at a 9.6 on the Wata scale, a rubric commonly used to rate comic book value. So if you're an expert in comics, you know a 9.6 is very hard to get on the Wata scale, especially for black box NES games, because those are so old. Kohler said they really narrowed it down to when was this copy on sale? When did Nintendo start tweaking parts of the box? Kohler notes that many of the players who grew up with classic video game franchises like Super Mario, Zelda, or Punch-Out are now comfortably in their 40s and 50s and likely possess much more disposable income they can spend on collector's items. If there's a 50-year-old spending $606,000, this guy must be a multi-millionaire. Where he's banking that easy. So there's no way I see a 50-year-old man spending that much on doggone video game collectible. But maybe I'm wrong. The constraints of video game collection 20 or 30 years ago was that there just wasn't a lot of money being thrown around. Stadium event copies would sell for $30,000, but because they would only be a smaller number who could pay that much. The fact that this copy of Super Mario Bros. Sold for $660,000 means that there's at least two people who would have paid over $1 million for it, probably more. So I guess those are the metric numbers that they use. That maybe someone could have bought this game for $1 million. I know in like other news at the beginning of the year, Logic I believe it was. He had a Pokemon card, original Charizard card that he sold for what, over $200,000?
I think it was over 300.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. My life fought 300K.
Yeah.
So there are folks out there that would buy this. What are y'all's thoughts upon this story?
Man, I would definitely say, man, I am not hating at all. If you can afford to do that, play it. But I don't know. I think it does speak to the different age that we're in. Because back in the day, you would only spend that type of money on like the Mona Lisa or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you'd spend like money on something that has that type of value. And now we're at a point where the kids of the former generation, the kids in the 80s and the early 90s, the things that we enjoyed are now considered to be almost museum items.
Mm-hmm.
I remember how back in the day we used to have the argument of are video games art or is it even worth investing into? The answer is decisively, yeah. I mean, $600,000+, am I right?
Yeah, $660K.
That's only going to graduate in value through the years, you know? So now, these items that we used to play with that were like toys, think about it. One day you're going to look up and the whole collection of Ninja Turtles is going to be like insanely valuable. You're going to look up and see the Power Rangers, the original sets be like all the memorabilia. And I think that's, but again, at one point in time, we said in American culture, no way, no how that'll ever be popular like that. And now we're at that point where we're watching it. So it'll be interesting over the next decade or two to see where all this eventually gets us. But I think you have to put those types of items in a museum now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, definitely, because, and like they said in the story, I mean, it's just sort of the graduation of people who were, there were 20-year-olds at that time when Zelda came out playing that game. I mean, when Mario came out playing that game. And you got to realize we just crossed the 35th anniversary.
Yeah.
So now, if you were 20 playing Mario at that time, well, now you are 55. Looking at this thing as a collectible, and as you get older, most people get wealthier. So, sure, somebody has that type of money to throw around. That's why they did it.
Exactly.
I don't think I'll ever have that type of money to throw around.
No,
being that even if I did, I wouldn't be spending it on that. But
that's like a man cave vault for you to archive.
Yeah, so I think definitely, like you were saying, I mean, it is Mona Lisa type numbers, if you will. Although the Mona Lisa, the original, I'm sure, is like far more valuable.
Absolutely.
But that's still just because of age. If you look at the way this game is appreciated over the years, you're talking about a game that originally hit the market for probably $60 or something like that, and now somebody's able to sell it for $660,000. I would have to do some research on what the percentage increase would be about for that. But regardless, you look down the line, Leonardo da Vinci came up with the Mona Lisa centuries ago. What will that game be worth centuries from now? So it might be trending in that same direction. And so I think, it is funny when we used to have debates like that about what is art or video games art, because
silly arguments like that.
I mean, it's all creativity. I remember one of my past colleagues used to talk to my brother and I about, how we shouldn't play video games and everything. And it's like, everybody has their pastime.
Yeah.
I think, in my own life, I've tried to have balance in a sense and not, overuse anything. But that can be overuse in anything. I mean, like people overuse social media. People, there are women out there who read too many romance novels. There are people who binge watch too much Netflix and are on social media scrolling all day. Yeah. So that sort of thing comes with any form of entertainment. But definitely, it's all creativity. It's all, and I think one of those interesting things is like there's individuals like Gary Vaynerchuk who have brought so much spotlight to the sort of Pokemon trading card world and getting so many people into it, to where Nintendo, or the Pokemon company rather, recently talked about needing to up their production levels of cards as they bring them to the market, because nowadays you just have all these scalping companies reach down and try to grab up as many of the new, expanded packs that they come out with, and then that creates this huge demand where nobody can find them, and now Nintendo's needing to come out with, or again, Pokemon companies needing to come out with more of these things. So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
And you're only going to start seeing it more and more. You're only going to start, just a couple. I think last year you saw some comic book. I can't remember what comic book it was, but
Static Shock, the original Static Shock, jumped off the chain out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, it's only gonna keep happening. You're only gonna, and people like us are only gonna be like, man, if I had just bought some Pokemon cards, this old,
exactly.
I might have hundreds of
I
dollars.
might have hundreds of thousands if only I have done.
Yeah. So,
Definitely. I would say, and another little bit of news, The Last of Us HBO series to reportedly begin filming in July of this year. So that right there is getting underway. I know we talked about that maybe about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
About the HBO show, how it was going to deviate in certain areas. They were bringing up how like the game had to do, how to do this, how to like do like that. But obviously in the TV show, you can save much more of that time for actual character dialogue and backstory. So
I saw The Witcher 2, or season 2 actually wrapped up filming.
Oh wow!
Very recently as well.
Yeah, so wrapped up.
Pretty excited for that one.
Me too.
Like I said, the only thing I hope that they do differently with this season is give the series like timestamps on the scenes if they plan on going between different eras again.
Yes.
Because the first season was kind of difficult to follow at times.
This scene is in book 4. This scene is in book 1.
So,
this scene is in book.
and I really wish that they would go back and just add timestamps to the first season. To allow you to better keep.
Anytime I have to pull myself out of your show to understand where it's going, that's bad. It's just as bad as Destiny 1, when the story was actually on the Grimmer card on the website instead of inside of the game. Anytime I have to go somewhere else to get your story, to me that's bad storytelling. Yeah. So I would definitely I would definitely want that as well. Can I get a timestamp? When did this happen? When when in time are we in the series right now? Because again, you're coming across scenes where like Geralt is there with what's her name's parents, Ciri's parents. And then in another scene, her parents are dead. And then it's like, well, okay, what's going on? And then they're all sitting around the table. Then they're getting in a fight. And then it's like, where are we at?
I think you have to wonder sometimes, as far as producing goes, who didn't see this as a problem?
Exactly.
Yeah, who didn't see, this, as they were going through the series, who didn't, look up and say, can anybody follow this story? It's very... And confusing for me,
I think sometimes that's what happens when you're, and this is not a fault to them, not saying anything wrong, but this is sometimes what happens when you're too in love with what you're doing. You're too in love with your own vision. Yeah. That you don't think about it.
These people just don't get it.
Exactly. And somebody else who has a fresh pair of eyes would be like, hey, well,
why is
you
this?
might want to explain that.
Why is that?
Exactly. Because even, and not to break off the path at all, but it was kind of I was listening to this guy talk about Outriders and how the developers didn't know gamers would go into the missions and then run backwards to go and farm chests. It's well, if you guys would actually get somebody who plays video games and finds out cheats and exploits, they would have shown you that. That way you wouldn't have to develop a patch, a week out to fix that. And so it's that hindsight is always 20/20, but sometimes you wish hindsight is in the film. It's in the filming to where we need to go ahead and explain who this is, where in time we are, when in time we are, and kind of just have that there, because at some points you can call it fan service, but no, it's helping me understand the story you're actually trying to tell. So that way I'm not having to ask somebody who actually read the books, hey, whoa, what's going on in this scene? Can can you
can you please explain to me what is going on here?
Exactly. So those right there are those stories. I don't really find a lot of anything else. Obviously, the Forspoken trailer has an extended release. If you want to go and see that, that's also posted on IGN.com. Forspoken is a game by Square Enix. They're using the Luminous engine, the same engine that they used for Final Fantasy 15 and for 16. It's looking very much so polished now. It looks like a very actual flow state game that they're able to flow that combat engine into. So that is a game I'm keeping my eye out for. And then obviously we already talked about that the other day. Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red's vision to develop 2 AAA games at the same time. Wild to me, but we'll see how that goes.
One thing that came out is they just revealed some new Switch sales for Monster Hunter Rise.
Go ahead, come on.
It came out to sell 1.3 million in just 3 days.
Yeah.
So I guess it was worth the 4 million copies being shipped.
Yeah. Well, and that was just the Japanese sales.
Oh wow, that's not even
that was the Japanese sales. So I'm not sure what it's done in America so far, but I do know that it also caused a surge in Switch sales. So I see that combined between the Switch Lite and Switch, the regular version, that's crossed over 19 million in Japan. By comparison, if you will, you have the PlayStation 4, which has done lifetime about 9 million sales. So Switch is definitely a phenomenon over there, just like it is over here.
I think what is going on, especially with the Switch though, is that Nintendo has figured out a way to tap into a market that wants to be, for lack of a better phrase, almost left alone, in the sense that they don't really want people telling them how to play games much anymore. And what I mean by that is, you look at, for example, like you mentioned earlier with the on-the-go gaming, right? I just want to plug in and play, and I want to play at my own pace, and I want to be able to do whatever I want to. Breath of the Wild is the definition of that, if you really think about it. And then Nintendo's talking about developing that Pokemon game. Guys, how long have we been talking about this is going to be the killer app? You know what I mean? Like, this would be the thing that's killer, is that I can play this game whenever I want, however I want, and no one can tell me how to do it. Like, that's why I think the Nintendo Switch is such a big, heavy hitter. And what I would kind of like to know, if anything, because I heard Sony was talking about getting back into the handheld market. I don't see them wanting to do that, honestly. But it would be interesting to see how would they take on that challenge this time around, if they thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, what lessons did they learn from the last time?
I feel like the biggest thing Sony could ever do to do something like that, because I feel like Sony would never really want to commit like Nintendo has committed, in the sense of Nintendo's not worried about competing on the level of power. So for the developers who want a graphically superior experience, you're not going to be able to develop it on the Switch. And that's just the stance Nintendo has taken. Sony doesn't want to take that stance because they have those developers who like to create those games, and rightfully so. I mean, I think they've crossed over 100 million PS4 sales.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, life in Sony's shoes is good right now. Why would you want to sort of piss off your developers, and then you still have a competitor in Microsoft who still offers that sort of experience, and who's to say a lot of developers wouldn't say, well, since Sony, I can't create these sort of superior experiences on their system anymore, because they're trying to compete with Nintendo on the Switch front. Well, let's just go to Microsoft. And that's exactly what sort of happened during the 360 era.
Yeah.
Where the PlayStation 3 came out, kind of overpriced at $600. And people were like, well, there's the 360 for $400. I'll just buy that.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I think, you know, the only way Sony could truly, like, have a sort of handheld experience like that would be some sort of add-on. Which, and I say that very loosely because I don't think add-ons really work. Like peripherals have not had a, you know, history in the gaming industry of having this huge success. They're kind of gimmicky, things like that. But I've had some friends tell me how they'll take their laptop, you just leave your PlayStation running at home, and you can sort of
remote play through it.
Remote play. I think that would be Sony's best chance at doing anything like that, would be a sort of expanded version of remote play, where if you have it streaming at the house, you can stream anywhere you have a Wi-Fi service or something like that, or even, you know, sort of download games and back upload your progress once you get to a Wi-Fi connection again. But I just don't see them ever really stepping into that arena where they, because I think that one of the things Nintendo was finding out, and it's a good thing that they made such a decision whenever they decided to combine both their handheld and home console division, is that it's very difficult trying to compete on two different fronts, you know, with only the manpower of to power one team in a sense.
Yeah.
Nintendo didn't have a far larger. It's not like they had double the personnel of Sony, and now they're able to do one very immersive experience on the consoles and another very immersive experience on the handhelds. It sort of became like one or the other.
Yeah.
People would look down at the DS like, man, the DS is sure getting a lot of games. What about the Wii? Or before then, man, the Game Boy Advance is getting a lot of games. What about the GameCube?
Yeah.
And so Sony, I think, one of the things that they faced whenever they had the PSP and then the Vita was like, okay, you had a lot of games come out for the PSP that were on the PlayStation 2. And then you had a lot of games come out for the Vita that were on the 3. And it's sort of like, so what am I getting? Like a Redux version? Like, I'm just getting a poor man's version of what's already on the PlayStation 3? Why don't I just play the PlayStation 3 version?
Yeah.
You know, so I think, you know, to ever really get into being able to compete with something like the Switch, or being able to compete with where Nintendo had the Game Boys and the DSs, was like, you got to truly commit as a company to be like, yeah, this is what we do. And if you can't do that, and Sony can't really do that, because it's like, no, like, people love the PlayStation brand, and people love the PlayStation brand as a home console. And as far as I know, while some of their fan base might fantasize that, man, this would be very cool to be able to take on the road like a Switch, at the same time, it's not necessarily stopping them from keep coming back to the PlayStation brand. So,
well, I remember they talked about they were going to develop something that was similar. I remember Microsoft, there was even whispers that Microsoft was going to try to do something akin to the Switch with the Xbox, with this series, or this iteration of the Xbox. But I personally think that Nintendo has done something that we used to talk about this years ago. And we used to always say, even when the Nintendo Wii came out, one of our predictions was that Nintendo was going to do something that only they can do with their console. And that's where Nintendo, I think, realized where their strength is. The Wii U wasn't a bad idea. It was just poorly executed.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad idea. Really, the Wii U was really no different than a Nintendo Switch. The thing is that it doesn't require a disc drive. It doesn't require any of those other things. It's still a CPU. It still has a GPU in it, but they made a console. It's like they made the perfect version of the Wii U, because the Wii U was not a bad idea. It was just poorly executed.
Yeah.
You have a console that has a handheld that's away from the TV, which was not bad. I liked the Wii U, honestly. I did. I liked the idea of it. Like a Nintendo DS console version. The problem is, on the other hand, is that, okay, I can't take this thing away from the house. I can only plug one in at a time. And we're now in the age of multiplayer. We're now in the age of... So then how does this all play into it? Now, I did think about this. What about cloud-based gaming? I think that cloud-based gaming will be a thing in the future where you're going to see where I started off here at home, but while I was on the road, I was doing these other things. And by the time I get back home, whatever else, that I've touched on. Because it's going to be games like, almost like a form of like medieval Sims or something like that, right? Yeah. Like a Fable or Legend of Zelda or something like that, where you could potentially be playing as Link or something like that, but then you've got to develop the Kingdom of Hyrule or something like that. So then you have farmers, you have different people you're trying to woo into coming into like the Hyrule market, and by the time you get home, after maybe doing these little knicky-knack things like a Clash of Clans thing or something like that, time you get back home, okay, you play the console, it's a different experience, more immersive. At the same time, though, it could become confusing. So they could just decide, all right, let's just make it immersive all the way around. And that's where I get a little concerned, because I feel like with the more time there is for these developers to develop, that's why a lot of these studios are closing down. They're too big for their own selves. Yeah, it's great that you have a Monster Hunter out here, but how much did it cost for them to make Monster Hunter? Yeah, it's cool. They made it great. They put out 4 million copies. What if the reviews aren't so kind? I get it. Well, it's Capcom. Capcom has a pretty good reputation. But Capcom was also known for dropping the ball and flubbing hardcore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Capcom has an on and off reputation.
Yeah.
Because I think with Capcom, they always, and I'm very surprised, to be honest, that they haven't really dropped the ball on Monster Hunter. Because Capcom gets something good and they'll run it into the ground real quick.
Remember Beautiful Joe?
Yeah. I mean, even I feel like you're currently seeing that with like the Resident Evil remakes. I mean, they got Resident Evil 2, and then it's like, let's do 3 as well. And a lot of people, it seems, didn't really like 3.
Which is why I think that they slowed down on doing 4.
And then now, but I even feel like with 4,
it's not needed.
Why? Because 4 is kind of what you have with these current versions anyway. Like 4 is the one that sort of put you on the current path, and then you saw them run that formula into the ground with 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. So again, it's very actually interesting, and I'm very happy that Capcom has not managed to run the Monster Hunter series into the ground yet. And has sort of made it more based on quality.
Yeah.
And I've seen some mixed reviews for this one. I've seen some, I believe it was either Game Informer or IGN that gave Monster Hunter Rise like a 7 or something. So it wasn't like a super great review, but then I've also seen really great reviews from other publications like GameSpot.
Yeah.
So again, I'm happy to see that Capcom is sort of prioritizing making good games, and it seems like actually like a really good game where you can make it a multiplayer experience as well. So hopefully Capcom continues to say, let's focus on just making good games. And I think in today's day and age, that's actually, I won't say anything's easy, but it's easier in a sense of you can keep gamers engaged with one game for a longer period of time nowadays through things like DLC. That's the sort of advantage that the current industry has over what it did 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when the PlayStation 2 was around, you weren't able to keep gamers engaged on one game, in a way. Like, it was literally like, people talked about this great game a lot, sure, but, you didn't have DLC. Mm-hmm. Well, now, with games like, Super Smash Bros., which has now been on the market for, when did Smash Bros. Come out? It came
Ultimate?
out 2019.
2019, I believe.
2019?
Or was it the
It
first
might
year?
have been 18.
Yeah,
I think it was 2018.
Yeah, it was 18.
Yeah, because Mario Odyssey, I believe, came out Christmas of 17, and then Smash Bros comes out Christmas of 18, and so now you're 2 Christmases removed from its original launch. But people are still excited to see, what's the next character gonna be? What's the next character gonna be? And you can, and Nintendo can do that by releasing. I think they've been releasing something like 4 characters a year.
Yep.
You know, so you don't even have to do much. You just you add another dimension to the formula. By have you seen this character? But can you now? I wonder, am I better with this character than I was with this character? Or can I beat him? You know, it's just all these different things you can do, and Grand Theft Auto has managed to do it.
Exactly.
You know, you keep stringing people along, and not even necessarily. I wouldn't say stringing people along.
You give them reasons, subtle reasons as to why they want to stay engaged.
Yeah.
And I think that's the major thing that a lot of these developers now are just kind of missing. There's an art to this. This isn't just release. Oh, we're going to release another one of the same. We're going to release the same game over and over again. This is, wait a minute, but wait, there's more, and it's true gamesmanship. There's true appreciation for the fans, because I genuinely feel like, there's more, but we thank you for engaging with us. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to earn your money. Thank you for being real fans. Thank you we greatly appreciate your business. And I think that's what's kind of missing on one hand, is that a lot of these developers, they've gotten to the point where, to be perfectly honest with you, they're just a little spoiled, in my opinion. You know, they're a little bit spoiled. They've enjoyed success for almost too long, to some degree or another, and it's almost as if that we're getting success, we're making this money, we got it going on, we know it, we don't necessarily need, for lack of a better phrase, we don't need your approval as much as we used to anymore. You know what I mean? Like we don't really need everything we thought we needed before. And I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think that's honestly just the flat out truth about a lot of development now, is that it's not where it used to be. A lot of these video game developers, they don't need people's money like they used to. Back in the day, it used to be, hey, we better release a top-notch game. Yuji Naka never released a bad Sonic game. Nintendo never released a bad Mario game. It might have been a little bit more of the same, like you could argue Super Mario Sunshine or something like that. But they genuinely never released a terrible game. Yeah. Street Fighter was never a terrible series. You might have got tired of seeing Ken and Ryu flip and do this all over the place, but then they go in there and add in Fei Long. They add in giving you access to the big four: Balrog, M. Bison, Vega, and Sagat. They did stuff like that, so that way you says, you know what, I'm gonna come out my pocket an additional $60 each time. I'm gonna come out, and when you consider what the content was, and I'm going specifically the content, they would drop 20% additional content, an additional 20, so an additional 20 plus, because in the original Street Fighter, Ken did not have the Shiryu Reppa. He didn't have that. And so by the time we got the Super Street Fighter Turbo, they had their own super moves. They had all this other great stuff. They had Akuma inside the package. So you literally ended up with, by the time them stringing your money out of your back pocket was over, you literally had about 2 to 3 different games on your hands. They could not afford to give you a bad game. Today, I think they feel like they can, and they shouldn't feel that way, because these games are now costing more money to develop. And that's the only thing I simply say to all of that, is that let's get back to making some good experiences. Smash Bros, think about it. It came out with, how many characters come out with, bro?
12 initially. And,
12.
The original Nintendo 64 version.
You only had 8 starters.
8, yeah.
And you can only unlock 4 others.
Characters, yeah.
What were the unlockables? So
there was Luigi,
Ness. What's her name? The singing Pokemon.
Jigglypuff.
And then...
was it Falcon?
Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon.
Yeah,
Captain Falcon.
Yeah,
That was
Captain
it.
Falcon, Luigi, Jigglypuff, Ness.
Oh, yeah,
I remember getting Ness for the first time.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I couldn't believe they put Ness inside there. Like I listen, I'm the resident Earthbound fan, but I remember playing it, and out here you and Tyson, I'll be humming it, and y'all be right there with me.
And then you get to Smash Bros. Melee, and I remember them having like I think it was 23 characters or something like that, and being like, man, that's a lot of characters. Something like 23 or 25.
Yeah.
And then you get to Brawl on the Wii, and it's like, crap, they got a lot of characters in this game.
Yeah.
Some 50 characters. And now, all these years later, they're breaking the ceiling on almost, I think it's upwards of 85 now. I don't know exactly how many characters. I have to go back and
there's
back.
rumors of the characters they want to put on there from Ryu Hayabusa. And before anybody says, no, they never do that. Guys, they have Sephiroth.
They have Minecraft Steve.
Anything is possible. I'm almost honestly waiting for Master Chief to make a bad boy pop doing that one. And considering they had Banjo-Kazooie in there too, it makes sense if they were to do something like that. You almost have to hope that Crash Bandicoot makes an appearance aside there, for goodness sake. And again, I'm not asking for these things. It's just, man, do you realize how far we've come? 8 characters was considered to be enough for a video game
to release, yeah.
And now here we are, 85 characters, and these are iconic characters too, from Simon and Richter Belmont, for goodness sake. Think about it. Simon and Richter Belmont are in a Smash Bros. Game. Snake is in a Smash. Sonic the freaking Hedgehog is in a Smash Bros. Game. Like I said, Cloud is Sephiroth. The Dragon Quest Heroes is in there.
It's very interesting because I know they called this Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because they were like, it's the ultimate version of the game. It has everything of all the characters before, brought back the Ice Climbers, brought back Solid Snake. But I just cannot see Nintendo not doing Super Smash Bros. In the future. And I think it's like they better make sure Sakurai is taken care of.
Yeah.
And that he continues to develop for the series because, and you have the sort of, the whiny fans who cry about every new edition that they come out with the game. Oh, there's too many swords. Oh, there's too much of this, too much of that. I wanted this guy. I wanted that guy. But the reality of just the depth that they develop new characters in. Like, if you go back and you look at some of the DLC they've come out with recently, such as Pyra and Mithra, or you go back to Min from the ARMS series, or you go to Banjo-Kazooie, or you go to the hero character.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own thing. And there's so much detail put into each character that, if you played this series, you'll be like, crap, they put that in the game?
I do. Ken and Ryu are in the game.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Jin Kazama from Tekken to show up, or Akira from Virtua Fighter to show up. I'm waiting for, because anything is possible at this point. I think we're at a point where this is like the Deadpool of video games. Like, it's like, we're playing with Mario versus Sonic? What is this, 1990?
I truly hope that even when they fulfill this roster of DLC characters, the DLC Fighter Pass 2, I hope they come out with the Fighter Pass 3.
Yeah.
And I hope they just keep doing it until it's like, the generation's over and the next console is coming out. Let's port this version over and let's keep rolling over with more features.
Terry Bogard is in the video game, guys. Like, I'm waiting for the Metal Slug kids to pop up or something like that. I mean, you know what? It'd be even funny if they were to bring in the Taito game, like Ikaruga or something like that, or bring in the guys with Sky Shark or something like that, or 1943, or I mean, but it's just like you said, what I think that I'm just enjoying right now when I'm looking at the Switch and I'm looking at how Nintendo is handling it, especially with the Smash series, And I'll be honest with you, I'm definitely happy that the developers are even kind of catching wind, because I bought Phoenix, the Phoenix series on the Nintendo Switch.
Ace Attorney.
No, not Ace Attorney.
You're talking about Phoenix, that one that came out earlier this year.
The Rising Phoenix.
Okay, Ubisoft's game.
Ubisoft's game. Yeah. And I bought it, and the thing that I like about it, I don't really get to play it much because I have a lot of work to do as a realtor. I got a lot of work to do as even a dad with their baseball and everything like that too. So I don't get to play games. But the one thing that I did like is that I liked how Ubisoft had reduced the game 50% off. So it's only $29.99 on the Nintendo Switch market. There's your plug, Ubisoft. I hope you send me something. But then they also have the DLC on the back end, the Season Pass. And all of it is additional content. Now, I'm not really big on additional content of the game that should have been released. Like we talking about CD Projekt Red or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I would really like to see them get away from that type of releasing content where it's like, oh, we're going to fix the game now. Like, I would like to see them actually go in, develop a full-on game, and then do like Nintendo did with the Champions Ballot. Like, I played the Champions Ballot.
Yeah.
I love the Champions Ballot. I love the additional trophies that you can get in there, the additional items. I love the fact that I got the motorcycle. That was funny. That was funny. Julius tells me all the time, "Can I just ride your motorcycle through Hyrule, please?" You know, and it's like even there. It's like another thing. Before I keep on going on this tangent, you know, do y'all realize that my son is creating memories with the stuff that we played with when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like, Julius knows the whole soundtrack to The Legend of Zelda. He'll even tell you where each track is at. Like, he'll tell me, I know which one's your favorite, Poppy. I know which one's your favorite. I'm like, what's my favorite? Going into Ganon's castle. If you even remotely like Zelda, for even Ocarina of Time back in the day, and you still haven't bought a Nintendo Switch, you need to go out and find one. And buy. In fact, if you gotta go on, I hate saying this, you gotta go on eBay and buy it for $400. Go buy that one. And then plug it into your TV. And then when you get to Hyrule's Castle and you listen to that music, you can't tell me it don't take you back. It won't take you back. That's an immersive experience. That's a AAA experience. But getting back on point, I like the fact that Nintendo has shown a lot of these developers that you can create additional content for your game. And some people, they try to be slick with it. But I gotta say, I've enjoyed the development for the Smash Bros. Like, I've enjoyed the additional content. Like, I was one of those geeking out when they announced Sephiroth was going to be part of Smash Bros.
You just see the cut come in and then the music starts playing. It's like, are you kidding me? Sephiroth in the game?
Somebody was like, another sword character.
Exactly. Always have these whiners, but at the end of the day, you still play the game anyway. So just be quiet and pay your money.
To me, what was reminiscent, and that's why I look forward to seeing what Nintendo's going to do with Legend of Zelda. I can't lie. Like, I'm still never going to ever be over 2004. When they announced the Twilight Princess. If anybody out there is listening, if you go Google E3 and you see Shigeru Miyamoto, but if you ever, I really wish you could go back and read all the articles and read all the message boards that were put up there, because it was so classic. People were saying, we were crying because we were emotionally impacted by this moment. I mean, it was too much, but it was such an amazing time in gaming. And so now, when you look at like Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2, that's going to be coming out, and you look at, even like I said, Smash Bros. Is like, I feel like that's a tribute to gaming.
Yeah.
It's a tribute to all of gaming, and I think that's why I love it so much. I don't even play it as much as I wish that I could. You know, if I were 6 years old, if I could switch, Julius wouldn't be able to take my day, but I wouldn't do that to him. I'll maybe take his sleep. While he's asleep, I go back to when I was 6 years old and play Smash Bros. Or something like that. But it's just, I look at the fact that, you know, Terry Bogard is in there, the Street Fighters are in there, the Steve from the ball game, Minecraft Steve, Lord Jesus have mercy. I mean, you know, this to me is in many ways, and I know it's going to be almost sacrilegious in me saying this, but in many ways, this is even bigger than Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for me. This is bigger than Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
That's not sacrilegious though. Like, I mean, I think people sort of reverence the old, which I get, because the old paved the way for the new.
Yeah.
But as far as what Nintendo has managed to do with Super Smash Bros., like, it's like I talk about, like, the game is simplistic enough for anybody to engage in.
Yeah.
Anybody can do any of the combos. Anybody can, just do anything in the game that anybody else can do. But then it's also deep enough that if you truly want to get really good at the game, you can, you know. And I remember seeing people way back in the day talk about how there was no depth to the game, and how if you were, you can be playing the game for multiple years, and somebody can come and play the game for the first time and choose Jigglypuff and beat you. And I was like, nah, you just don't know how to play the game. Because there's no way you could tell me somebody like Zero is going to get dusted by some first timer getting on the game playing with Jigglypuff. So the game is definitely deep, and as far as Marvel vs. Capcom 2, to me that's one of the all-time great fighting games too. And I remember just us going to the arcades back in the day and watching some of the guys who were really good at the game play it.
It was insane,
and
bro.
I mean, just a great all around experience. But I don't see what they're doing with Smash Bros. As being anything less. Mm-hmm. What they're doing with Smash Bros. To me is almost like an equivalent of what Marvel was able to do with the Avengers saga.
Yeah, definitely.
Where they're able to bring all these characters together in a quality way. Whereas in years past, you've seen like TV shows try to, put these various characters in, and it's been like very kind of lame.
Exactly.
And Nintendo's been able to, or Marvel was able to put really good characters in, like I said, a quality way. And Nintendo has been able to incorporate various characters into Super Smash Bros. In a quality way. So, for me, there's definitely nothing sacrilegious about saying that Smash Bros. Is on that, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 level.
Yeah.
For me, it's my favorite fighting game, period. But,
But when I say it like that, and just to be perfectly clear about it, my thing specifically is that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was like the standard of fighting games for like forever and a day. And I think that Smash, as time has gone on, because let's be real about it, the fighting game genre has both died, been revived, and come back as just being honestly just competition. It's not the same way it used to be anymore. It just ain't. It just ain't. It's not even about like who, the game itself. Like this isn't like I remember like, every now and again I think back about our Soul Calibur rival days when we would get hot. The times we sitting over there going, don't, and we're over here deflecting each other's 8 times in a row. Like I think what was our record, like 13 times one time? Yeah. Like I had you at the edge of your life, and then you deflected me, and then I deflected you, and then you deflected me, and I deflected you, and it came down to just one single slash, and I was just so bothered because I would lose 2 matches in a row just like that. It was never Tyson just flat out whooped you, bro. I would have taken a classic backyard whooping, but losing 13s in a row, we're clashing swords, and it's coming down to one last minute, or we run out of time because we're over here deflecting each other the whole time. And it was a great dance. Like it was a great dance. Like I had a great dance partner in Tyson. definitely happy to be able to say that I was part of that in his life and part of that even with your life too. That we were so competitive that we were like, man, we can't play this no more, man. We can't do this no more. Like the gaming gods are not pleased with us. You know, those were good times playing those types of games. But I also understand that even there, like, that can't last forever because you're going to have those who are going to jump on and they'll be like, they're so good at they're doing what Tyson and I are doing, right?
Yeah.
That we're just timing out with each other. And then you're going to have the casuals who are much more like, well, I just want to hit you. I just want to punch you with a video game or something like that. And they're not going to be pleased with deflection. They'll be like, well, I don't get that.
Yeah.
I won't get that. So, guess what? I'll find something else to play. And that's where Smash comes in. Smash was a game that, for the longest time, it was about, you know, how well could you just dodge.
Exactly.
Then you have the dodge, and then you have the wipe off moves, and then you have the how, what's that? The parry attacks was like you jump in there. I would watch you and Tyson playing. Y'all looking like y'all playing Dragon Ball Z. Like, you know, the counterattacks and everything like that. So, but Smash is different because you can anybody can play it.
Exactly.
Like you don't even have to go weapon to weapon.
You don't have to be, you know, the best of the best. You can just jump in. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to it. Obviously, I'll never be as good as the comp guys who go out there and, you know, I'll never be a Zero or anyone like that. But, you know, in my own sphere, you know, I can be decent about the game. So that was what I always liked about Smash Bros. It's very nuanced. There was always, like, you know, different techniques out there, the whole wave dashing and, you know, everything like that I never learned how to actually do. But, you know, Nintendo created a very great game with that franchise. So, unless there's anything else to talk about, that will be the wrap up of this episode.
I think we could wrap it up. Definitely like to hear some comments from you guys listening in. Give us likes, comments, shares, subscribe if you find what we're doing interesting. Anyway, we'll see you all next time.